Over 400,000 Nevadans are affected by mental illness. Due to the COVID pandemic, our community is experiencing a mental health crisis. NAMI Nevada is dedicated to building better lives for those living with a mental illness. They also support friends and families who are caregivers to loved ones who are living with a mental illness. Good evening. I'm Connie Wray, your host for tonight's Drive to Thrive with NAMI Nevada. Mental health affects us all. During tonight's Drive to Thrive, we'll explore resources and offer tips on how to better integrate wellness into your everyday life. We have incredible stories of survivors who have been affected by mental illness. They are survivors, and they are here with a powerful message for you that you will be okay. You'll hear tonight from Clint Malarchuk, a former Canadian NHL hockey player who experienced a life-threatening incident. He's now a best-selling author and an advocate for mental health. We'll also talk with Grant Denton, the founder of the Karma Box Project. Grant is a pillar in our community, advocating for the homeless. You'll also hear from Emma White. Emma is a survivor of suicidal depression and the author of It's Not Okay, But It Will Be, How I Survived Suicidal Depression and You Can Too. Advocacy, resources, support. That is what NAMI Nevada provides our community. Let's help them continue their mission. You can donate anytime this evening by heading to givebutter.com/drive-to-thrive-2021. If you're already on the website, just scroll below to make a donation. You can also text a donation to 202-858-1233. We invite you to come on a mental health awareness journey with us for the next hour. Let's erase discrimination of mental illness. Let's give others and ourselves the drive to thrive. Your experience of growing up with your mother is what led you to where you are today, to find your true passion. You and I both, where we've experienced something that we don't want other people to have to experience without help. And we advocate for those so that they too can have assistance, so that they too can have someone that can walk this journey with them, because I think you and I have really seen face to face the importance of an organization like NAMI and what the impact of having that organization can have on the betterment of those dealing with a mental health crisis or family members who are dealing with someone in a mental health situation.
You know, my brothers and I are very fortunate that we ended up in places, pretty good places in our lives, given our upbringing and the barriers that we went through. But I truly recognize through statistics how lucky that is.
You are giving people an opportunity to understand that it's okay that you went through that and that you're not alone.
So many people feel like they're the only ones going through it. And that's the wonder of the support groups, or going into a class with 15 other people, taking family to family. And over the course of 8 weeks, learning about their experiences and telling about your experiences. And they come out of that class as a little group, a solid group of helpers for each other. And then they want to give more to other people because they recognize how much that little bit helped them. The whole world is going through an unknown. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. You know, I mean, there's jokes on social media about 2020 and what disaster next month is it going to be? But in terms of anxiety, we don't know what's going on the next day or the next week or the next month. And they can't predict how long this pandemic is going to go. And so we have a whole new universe of people who had lived absolutely, we're going to say the word normal again, normal lives of going to work and going home and caring for their family. And now they don't know what that looks like. And they don't even know what it's going to look like a month from now or 6 months from now. You know, we keep listening to the science and that. So there's a whole group of people who have that depression and anxiety kind of bubbling up. And I think it's important that we all acknowledge that and then use that, because how you're feeling right now is how some people feel 100 times worse 24/7.
We were seeing a rise in homelessness. We're seeing a rise in mental health struggles within that homeless population. We're seeing a rise in suicides. We are seeing a rise in people who are struggling. And then on top of that, you throw in a pandemic. It seems to me, Robin, that now more than ever, we need to stop putting a Band-Aid on mental health. And we need to understand that this is no different than someone suffering from heart disease.
We are number 51 because we don't have enough psychologists and psychiatrists in this state. We don't have enough psychiatric nurses in this state. 15 of our counties are rural or frontier, and more than 13 of them almost have no mental health choices to go to. What is keeping our nose above water to breathe is the fact that we have these nonprofits out there trying to fill the gaps. Stigma kills. We just have to recognize that being able to interact and talk about these things, whether it's on the job, whether it's, with friends, anything like that, we have to be able to talk about it and not have it looked at like you're crazy. I remember a time where I was sitting in college and just kind of at a lunch table, and someone walked up who was in one of my classes and just said, "Are you okay?" And it was amazing. Just that, "Are you okay?" And we didn't get into a lot of stuff about it and that, but it was amazing to me that someone cared enough to say that, and that gave me value. So just one, "Are you okay?" can mean the world to someone and you won't even know it.
Fact, in 2019, NAMI fielded an estimated 3,300 calls from Nevadans that were needing guidance. In the 11 months of data from 2020, NAMI took over 10,468 calls. That is why we need your support tonight. We need to continue the resources that NAMI provides to those who are suffering with a mental health crisis. You can make a donation right now by going to givebutter.com/drive-to-thrive-2021, or you can also text a donation 202-858-1233. Know that your donation will go directly to help those in need with a mental health crisis. Some of you tonight will have an opportunity to win a copy of Emma White's book, It's Not Okay, But It Will Be: How I Survived Suicidal Depression and You Can Too. Emma knows firsthand that depression is becoming more prevalent amongst adolescent population. She knows this because she personally experienced it, and she's here to share her story with us tonight. At the age of 15, you were struggling with suicidal depression due to being bullied when you were in school. You were also being harassed online. And what I love about talking to you and you being a part of Drive to Thrive is that you are thriving. And 10 years later, you have overcome your struggles. And because you started to see that rise in suicide, you saw a rise in depression in adolescence, you really knew that it was time for you to share your story. And you've done so in a few different ways. You have your book, which many of our donors tonight will be receiving a copy of. It's Not Okay, But It Will Be. And then you started a website, lifeisworthit.org. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
I was a varsity athlete. I had good grades. I had good friends and was blessed with a great family. But somehow, that didn't keep me from dealing with social media harassment and bullying in school. And because I was just always afraid of imperfection or seeming, anything other than happy all the time, I started to internalize any of those mean words and the rumors and all that. And so I kind of forced myself to not deal with it and to not feel it. And then in the process, developed depression over a 4-month span. And then after 4 months in December of 2010, I planned to take my life. I really had no idea what I was going through, let alone who I could talk to or where I could go. There's a bigger conversation now about mental health being just as important as our physical health. If you break your leg, you're not going to sit in your house and hope for it to get better. You're going to go to the doctor and you're going to get it fixed. If there's something wrong, we need to go to the doctor. We need to start going to therapy, maybe potentially getting on medication to help us get through that, the same as we would a physical illness.
The US statistics would show that suicide is the second leading cause of death for teens. So to me, it seems what you're doing is so very important. It is vital to our community. It is vital to the next generation that is coming up behind you.
My ultimate goal, truthfully, is to save our teens. The teenage population is my biggest passion. And I think it was really important for me not only to talk about my story and what I went through, because so many people can relate to that, but to provide steps. I'm not a therapist and I'm not a doctor, but I do know what it feels like to be searching for something or someone out there who can give me any tips and tricks, and there just wasn't when I was going through it. And so now it's like, hey, maybe not all of these steps will work for you, but surely 1 or 2 or 3 of them will, and they will point you into the right direction to overcoming and for healing.
Fact: 37% of Americans who are diagnosed with PTSD are classified as having severe symptoms. Yoga is one of the many ways that help reduce stress and anxiety. Joyce Bosen is a PTSD survivor, and she's also the founder of Trauma Recovery Yoga. Joyce provided free lessons to first responders at the Route 91 Music Festival shooting in Las Vegas.
Hi, my name is Joyce Bosen. I'm the founder of Trauma Recovery Yoga and the creator of the TRY method. I will be facilitating some sessions in between your presentations today that are based in the TRY method that was created by myself and a team of mind-body experts in 2013 after my diagnosis with PTSD. This method not only helped me recover my resilience and turbo boosted my recovery, it helped now thousands of people around the globe do the same thing. We are working with people in Iraq, orphans of ISIS, VA patients here in the United States, post-war vets, TBI patients in recovery, people in addiction recovery facilities, and children in Title I schools, many, many more people. We've trained thousands of people in this method, and we found that it is very helpful in the recovery and the build up of resilience for future challenges. So it's quite interesting, and I hope that you'll enjoy these sessions. We'll be interjecting with pieces of the method to help calm the central nervous system as you work through your conference and your presentations today and continue your very important work. So thank you for allowing me to be here with you today.
Thank you so much, Joyce, and we're going to hear more from her throughout tonight. When a loved one is affected by mental illness, it can seem like a never-ending uphill battle. That is why Trin Dang, the executive director of NAMI Southern Nevada, is where she is today. Her personal story of supporting her grandmother through living with mental illness turned her desire to find solutions for others.
There was a lot going on in my personal life with school and work. And I had also grown up with family members who had a mental health condition. And I remember that year, it was really tough, just transitioning into my career, but then also having to be the caretaker for my grandmother. There was crisis after crisis every year with having to find housing for her because of her episodes and things that would happen. And I remember just during that time that I had a really tough time coping with all the stressors, and I felt like I was kind of losing it and needed to go talk to someone. So I really need something. So I finally went to the website and I saw that they had a family-to-family education class. Had no idea really what it was about, but I decided to sign up. It was the first time that I met a group of people who understood, who had family members going through similar situations. And so I started crying and I was just like, no, these are happy tears. Like I feel so great that there are other people out there, because I felt so alone for so long. And that was kind of my first introduction to NAMI, taking that class, and it completely changed my life from there.
That's what I hear from everyone who has experienced working with NAMI. It is that feeling that finally you're not alone.
The way that my grandma's episodes were referred to, because oftentimes she would hear voices, she would be up at night yelling, there'd be, severe mood swings and that sort of thing. But the way that it was talked about was that there was, a portal to the spirit world, and that there were evil demons following her. And that was kind of what I grew up believing, not really understanding what psychology was until I took it in high school and college. I started out as a psych major, actually, and I learned more and more about it and understood what depression, anxiety meant in the, psychosocial biofactor.
What would your life be like had you not experienced the work that NAMI has given you?
As I'm kind of going through this healing journey, not just as a family member, but I've also lived with depression and anxiety myself, I would not have gotten the therapy and the help that I needed without NAMI. People come in and they tell their stories, because telling your story is a way of healing. It's a way to express yourself and to find that support from others. And we're not here to judge people for what they've done, what they are doing, what they choose to do, because we know that everyone's doing the best that they can. Whether they've dealt with mental health conditions with their families for decades, or whether it's something very new, whether it's something within themselves that they're dealing with, we know that, there's been times where I haven't been the best person. There's been times where my family members haven't done the best things. And that's just a part of being human. And I think because of this pandemic, everyone's just trying to find ways to cope the best that they can. And so to grow our community, to grow our organization, means to expand that caring circle, to let people know that it's okay to not be okay, that we're here to just listen and learn from each other.
I'm back here with Robin Reedy, the executive director for NAMI Nevada. I just have to tell you again that just interviewing Trin and having a really deep conversation with her, I think what I've been so blessed with and experiencing and getting to know NAMI is that amongst the people that work for NAMI, there's also this connection of they have some sort of connection which has drawn them to mental illness. It has drawn them to want to do better for those who are living with a mental illness, Robin.
Well, most of the people who interact with NAMI have that lived experience, whether it's they themselves experiencing a mental health condition or whether it's having a family member. But in this time of COVID and pandemic, everyone's experiencing some form of anxiety or depression.
Well, we talked about earlier the number of phone calls that you've received just in this 11-month period, and those numbers are astronomical. And that's, like you said, these are people who are experiencing a mental health crisis, maybe for the first time in their lives. And going back to individuals that work with you, I'm so excited to have Laura and Zarek with us. They are joining us live this evening. Hi, first of all, we are so happy that you brought your dog.
He wants to be part of NAMI too.
Well, absolutely. He's bringing joy, bringing us calm, and taking away the anxiety for Robin and I, for sure. So thank you for doing that. But thank you both for being here. Robin has told me, Laura, that you have spent the last 13 years of your life somehow, some way connected to NAMI Nevada. You yourself, you lived with depression, you dealt with suicidal ideation. For those individuals who are not familiar with suicidal ideation, can you talk to us a little bit about what you grew up with and what that experience is like?
Yeah, suicidal ideation is when you have thoughts that the world would be better off, or that you would be better off if you weren't living anymore. And it can be a thought. It can be, figuring out what the world would be like without you. I started dealing with it when I was in my teens and have really still deal with it, although I've learned different ways to adapt and to cope with it and to handle it and still be able to move forward with my life.
Your son as well has dealt with some mental issues, but the two of you now work together. And Robin, tell us a little bit about this amazing program that they go out and they speak to students with.
Yes, it's called Ending the Silence. And one day, actually, I think we did about 5 classes, and they presented to 5 health classes in Reno and Ending the Silence. And it's really telling their stories in a way that the students can relate to. And it is incredible, the changes you see in the people listening and in the teachers who are there too listening, because they'll see students react and they may never have thought that student had any issues.
Zarek, what has that experience been like for you? You had experienced a mental health crisis at a young age, and now you're out sharing that experience with other students. What has been the response from your openness and your honesty about what you went through?
So it's a very uplifting experience for myself. I know there's a lot of, in my history, a lot of kind of isolation, feeling alone. And then part of the ETS or the Ending the Silence program is I literally will sit there and say, this is what I went through. This is where I am now. This is my crisis and what I really went through and how I struggled. And this is how I got better, and kind of teaching students, staff, family members about, hey, here are some warning signs so that if you're seeing this in a friend or a family member, maybe you should get some help or talk to somebody and say, hey, I don't know what's all going on, but I'm worried about somebody I care about.
I'm just so grateful to the both of you for being a part of this program. I am a mother who lost a child to suicide. It happened in August of 2018. And the only thing that our family wants now more than ever is the continued work that NAMI is doing. The more that we can have these conversations, and the more that you can reach out and have those conversations and get kids to open up and talk about the things that they're seeing or the things that they're feeling, I think that is just truly from the bottom of my heart. I cannot thank you enough for what you both are doing, because I know what you're doing is making a difference.
And I would tell you, Laura and Zarek make such a difference in the schools. And Laura's work, it was Laura that came up with the warm line that we have. It was Western Nevada. So all of their work is very appreciated within the NAMI family. You doing this is appreciated for getting that word out and letting other parents know. And then it's just an incredible group of people helping other people.
Well, thank you both for joining us tonight, and thank you for being brave. I think you sharing your stories is transforming lives, and we just greatly appreciate the work that you continue to do for NAMI. And this is really for both of you and for all of the students and anyone out there who is struggling, just to get the message out that it's okay to not be okay, but it's also okay to ask for help. So thank you both so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Debbie, you have been with this organization for the last 8 years, and your four-legged best friend, Cole, has been providing a lot of respite to many people for a very long time. Tell us a little bit about Pause for Love.
We visit anywhere from nursing homes to schools for special events, like when they have reading week. We are at all of the hospitals. Cole and I were, for almost 2 years, we worked with a hospice organization, Infinity Hospice. We go wherever people ask us to come. What I thought about doing it, I had to learn to kind of compartmentalize my emotions and just let Cole do his job. And he's so good about it. People need to be able to cry into his fur, hug him, hold on him. And I'll tell you, there have been times all I could see was the handle of his leash because there were so many people that wanted to touch him and be comforted by him. But he seems to have a sense of who needs what. He's just been doing this job for so long. And his goal and objective through this is to get a belly rub. And people often ask me if he knows tricks. And I say, he will trick you into rubbing his belly. People will say, well, why are you here? And I say, hopefully to put a smile on your face that otherwise might not have been there. And it's just a moment in time that they can feel love, puppy love, and just let go of everything.
Earlier this year, Damani Ranch really suffered many tragedies. And I think the community really wanted to just embrace that school and let them know how loved they were. And I was so excited to see Pause for Love out there. I was out there one afternoon. We had all come out with signs for the kids, and you were there with all the animals. And just to see those kids come out of that, end of the day, and to see all of these parents out there, but they all ran to those animals. Pause for Love, it just brings such joy. And just in that moment, especially for those individuals who are in the midst of a crisis, like you were saying, just having that comfort, there's just something about that animal that immediately, there's no judgment. They're there to be kind and compassionate. I think with NAMI, it really is about, especially people who are struggling with anxiety or depression, finding those moments where you feel at ease. What are those moments? And if Pause for Love can bring those moments to those in crisis, I just think it's a beautiful thing. So thank you again for all of the work that you and Cole do, and continuing to bring just a bright, beautiful, shining moment into so many people's lives.
Thank you.
I just love, Robin, that you at NAMI, you work with so many different agencies and so many different partners. You find people for whatever is needed, whether it's to bring Cole in, to bring comfort to families or those that are in need, whether you have Joyce who is helping with yoga. You find ways to work with individuals to help them in any capacity.
Oh, we're number 51. And the only way we get things done is, again, those nonprofits filling the gap. Relationships are everything in Nevada if you want to move something forward.
You have an amazing relationship with a longtime supporter of NAMI who is actually going to really transform things here tonight, because over the next 30 minutes, this gracious donor has said, I've got $2,000. I want to do a match, so your donations will be doubled for the next 30 minutes. And this individual is also known as the NAMI 2020 Hero of the Year.
Yes, he won the Hero of the Year award. He's been president of our board. He's been treasurer of the Western Nevada board. He's president of the Western Nevada board right now. So it pays to have someone who really wants to stick this out. But he and his wife were integral in really reevaluating NAMI and getting it up off the ground and doing more, both at the affiliate level and at the NAMI state level. We wouldn't be here without him.
Well, of course, you heard it right there, a $2,000 match donation. So that means your donations will double over the next 30 minutes. This is an opportunity for you to give back to a community that is really going through some challenging times. We want to make sure that the resources that NAMI offers, that they're available to those people in need. givebutter.com/drive-to-thrive 2021. You can make your donation there. Please support and know that your money will be going directly to those in need right here in our community. So again, thank you to Rick for this donation.
Yay.
Next 30 minutes, we're going to be doubling those donations. So again, to Rick, we greatly appreciate all the work that you're continuing to do for the community. The Karma Box, another great thing that's happening in our community. It's a cubby-sized box that is spreading good karma across northern and now southern Nevada. It's spreading good karma, and it all started with one man's desire to help those in need. And what it has turned into is a way for a community to embrace a population that was otherwise overlooked. I don't think a lot of people know, Grant, that you were actually a performer. Like, you were a performing artist in Vegas.
Yeah, I worked in nightclubs. I walked on stilts and was a fire breather for 5 years.
And that culture that you were in, is that where you feel that you kind of started into that downward spiral?
Well, I think that like there's a lot of people that were in that culture that didn't end up in a downhill spiral. They just accepted that as that's what it was at the time, and they've moved on. And on the other hand, me, like, I was ingrained in the culture, and we did a lot of drugs, and that was just part of the gig. You did drugs and we partied, but I wasn't using it just to party. I was using it as a tool, right? It was a tool for me to manage my emotions. It was a tool for me to feel better. Like, and every once in a while you shouldn't feel great. Every once in a while you should be sad. You should be depressed about something, or you should feel anxiety. It's part of the gig, but instead of navigating these emotions and these feelings like I should have in my head properly, I stayed high. So I was using it as more of a tool. And then when I transitioned out of that lifestyle and out of that culture, I wasn't able. I didn't have the only way that I knew how to navigate these feelings and these emotions were drugs, because it's all I knew, and that was the answer.
Grant, you're such an example of being able to harness that and take that energy into the opposite direction, because you now perform in front of children.
The value of that is that, like, there's things that I use today that I learned when I was an addict. There's skills that I have right now that I learned when I was on the streets. I'm driven. I'm a risk taker. I'm resourceful. These are things that I've learned on the streets, and I'm very good at them. There's a thing called intrinsic value, and if a baby were to fall in a well, the whole village would shut down. The whole village would shut down and try to get this baby out. They'd dig holes from this way. They'd drop lines in. The village would shut down to get this baby out. And why is that? Baby hasn't done anything for anybody, hasn't lifted a fat finger to help anybody, doesn't have any money or resources or friends, right? Doesn't have any power or influence. Like, why would we help this baby? And it's because the baby has this intrinsic value, and because the village knows that it could potentially be an asset to the village. We have to save this baby. But when we see a homeless or a mentally ill person in a well, we'll walk right over it and be like, we'll walk right over the well. What if we put as much energy and resources into getting these mentally ill and homeless folks out of these wells? Being in this business, we have a unique opportunity to watch a human deteriorate, and that's just what it is. But at the same time, you also, when you start working in depth with them, you also have an opportunity to watch a human grow, to watch a person's shoulders when they walk start to roll back, to watch somebody's chin raise up a little bit. It's a beautiful thing to see, and all it starts is with setting a platform to give somebody purpose.
And I think you give hope to so many people, Grant, that maybe if they're homeless, or if they're struggling with a mental illness, or they're struggling with addiction, when they meet you and they see that there is a way out and there is a way to funnel those energies into a more positive way of living.
Your best ideas, Connie, right now got you exactly where you're at right here. My best ideas when I was homeless and addicted to heroin and meth got me homeless and addicted to heroin and meth. I needed new ideas. Just need to be around people that have better ideas. And if we are the higher functioning, we need to go down and introduce these ideas and introduce them in the spirit of collaboration, and not like that we're just these high and mighty people bestowing our charity upon them. It's not it, dude. You go down and learn something, right? In addition to teaching, it's a reciprocal relationship. And you go up and you work with somebody, you build a relationship with them, and then they ask you, how can I change my life? That's it. Getting to a place with somebody where they're wanting to change their life, where they're like, you know what, I'm ready. And then you go to work. When you're homeless and invisible, you feel so small, and you feel like that there's no impact, that there's no way that you could have an impact on the world around you, and it couldn't be further from the truth. We do have an impact. If we can really understand that impact, then we can actually start to understand how we can start to grow and how we can start to change, right? If I can have an impact that does this, it also has to mean that I can have an impact that can do that. And then we understand, then we start to create value. Like, wait. If I can do this, then I can do that, and I can do this, and all the things, and so that's what Karma Box Project is trying to do. We're trying to help them understand the role that they have in this community, and that they can actually make an impact.
find your feet flat on the floor and your hands resting, palms down on your legs, knees, or the tabletop. Allow our chin to drop towards the chest as we gaze down towards the floor and begin to orient ourselves in the space. Finding 4 textures or 4 colors in the soft field of vision: the floor, the table, the furniture, our feet or shoes, our clothes or skin. Notice one by one, counting 4 objects, 4 textures, or 4 colors in that soft field of vision as we gaze down, receiving message to mind and body. No reason to look about. I am safe. I am peaceful. I am present. Notice now the ground, grounding, finding ourselves connected to the earth and our chair, noticing every point of contact our feet are making with the earth, the toes, the balls of the feet, and the heels, pressing down, resting, heating up the earth. Notice the sit bones, glutes, and thighs resting against our chair, solid, supported, safe. Notice these points of contact in the bottoms of the feet and the seat, as though they were magnets to steel, roots growing, solid, supported, receiving the message now. I am solid. I am supported. I am connected. I am stable. I am peaceful. I am present. All is well. The hands resting on the legs or knees. Palms down, sending signal to mind and body. All is well. No reason to point a finger or make a fist. I am peaceful. I am present. All is well. On your next inhale, slowly lift the chin, fluttering the eyes open, coming back into the room.
Thank you, Joyce. Fact: of the 10,468 calls that were received by NAMI Nevada in 2020, 50% of those calls were mentioning COVID-19 as a stressor. We do want to say again tonight, this is about supporting the efforts of NAMI Nevada. We thank you all so very much. We got a great message here. This is from Whole Hearts Grief Counseling by Misty Fields. She says, thank you, NAMI, and all the presenters for having this dialogue on mental health in our community. No stigma. And that's really what this is about. Erasing not stigma, discrimination against individuals who are living with a mental health condition. We thank you so very much for your support. We hope you will continue to make those donations roll in at givebutter.com/drive-to-thrive-2021. As you know, we're still in the midst of our match. We're doubling those donations. Thank you again to Rick Borzig for making that possible, a $2,000 match. So let's see those donations roll in. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Steve Schell is the Vice President of the Stacey Mathewson Behavioral Health and Addiction Institute at Renown Health, and he's also the Board President of NAMI Nevada. Steve has been instrumental in the development of 2 Nevada behavioral health hospitals, and he's here tonight to talk to us about how we can end the discrimination.
I liked the specialization of behavioral health. And I was seeing that there were a lot of people not getting the help that they need, and there was such stigma around it. And so I was just drawn to it. And I've worked now in this field for over 25 years and really enjoy it. And I think we've come a long way with stigma and getting people access to treatment, but we still have a long way to go.
Why do you think it is so challenging to erase that stigma?
I think we have such deeply rooted beliefs that get passed on from generation to generation. And I think we still have so many people that think it's a sign of weakness.
Hospitals, they're really embracing the idea and concept of mental health care as well. It's not just about healing the sick. It's about providing things like a healing arts garden. It's about providing music by the bedside. That's another way that you're breaking down that stigma.
Absolutely. I think we've learned a lot through the years about how mental health truly does impact the physical health. And I think that's why you are seeing a lot more innovative therapies taking place.
Nevada has a major challenge. I mean, we have the highest rates for substance abuse and mental illness, yet we have the fewest resources that are available. Steve, what is being done to change that, and how is NAMI a part of that?
You know, we're 51st in the country for a reason, and I think a lot of it has to do because we haven't had enough providers. And we've got to move that needle even further. We've got to work closely with the universities and other schools around the state to actually train, mental health professionals and to engage them and want to stay in our state.
I have had both experiences. My brother experienced addiction issues. He was adopted at a very young age. He had been severely abused. His parents were drug addicts. Personal experience with my stepdaughter, who we recently lost to suicide just 2 years ago, who also struggled with mental illness.
We are all impacted by mental health and addiction, whether we want to admit it or not. And I think that's something we all need to realize as a community, that we're all impacted by this. And NAMI has a tremendous group of volunteers that work tirelessly to educate and support the community and be there, when people need us the most. I'm just hoping the community will continue to support NAMI and our mission.
And you're seeing more and more people that never experienced a mental health crisis or never experienced anxiety that are now feeling that. And I really hope that those people then say, I understand now, because imagine what you're going through if you're an individual that lives with that 24/7.
The mental health impact from the pandemic is certainly going to continue well beyond us, getting through this pandemic. We're seeing so many people that are needing help right now because of the pandemic. And I think this is going to continue even once the pandemic has ended. Here at the Stacey Mathewson Institute, we're very focused on prevention and intervention. And I absolutely agree that the sooner we can get to someone and help them with his or her issues, the better long-term, outcome there will be.
I have a cousin of mine who we pretty much grew up together. We're like brothers growing up. He had a psychotic break during his freshman year of college. He met a couple of peers, that were kind of going through some of the same things he was going through, and they really formed relationships and started doing a lot of things together, like extracurricular things together, and it was very helpful for him. It was very it was healing. It was. I think him finding sort of that support, I think, where people can relate to what he was going through and vice versa. I think that was so powerful. And so from there on, he really, was able to be on that trajectory towards recovery. And his mom, my aunt, credits NAMI for helping to save his life. And so from that point on, NAMI really, sort of stuck with me.
It truly seems as though the thread is the more that we can talk about mental health issues, the more that we can have that open conversation. And most individuals are finding that when they come to NAMI, that they realize they're not alone. You're encouraging people to reach out and to talk about their feelings. Why is that so important?
I think it's so important because, for one, I think it's, we keep things sort of bottled up. It's not healthy for one, but I always tell people to kind of treat your mental health like you would a medical condition. So for instance, I always use the analogy, if you were riding a bicycle and you felt that bicycle and you scratched up your leg, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to try to treat that wound or treat that cut, right? Whereas when it comes to mental health, it's sort of that same analogy applies, however, it's just more internal, an internal scarring versus that more physical, overt scarring, if you will. So that's the difference, but, it can have the same impact or the same effect. And so I want people to know that if you fall off your bicycle mentally and you scar yourself, you need to treat those scars as well.
You talk about having conversations about mental health and being okay with it not being okay. That is what we're dealing with, especially it's as if the Band-Aid during the pandemic has ripped this off. We all now know how important it is to deal and help those who are struggling with mental health, not just that they themselves, but their families as well. And that is where NAMI comes into play, helping both parties.
Sure. You kind of add to that. And so there's that slogan, it's not okay to, it's okay to not be okay. However, I want to add to that, it's not okay to not seek help, when you're in need, So I think that's the sort of, for me, the kind of the other layer to that is, okay, it's okay to not be okay. There's other people that are struggling out there just like you are struggling, but there's also resources available to you. So knowing that these resources are there, reach out. Reach out, because it's not okay to be struggling like you are and to not to seek the support.
So many fantastic stories, so many people fighting the fight for those that are living with a mental illness. And I just want to reiterate what Dr. Sheldon said, and that is, it's not okay to not seek help. It's okay if you're struggling, but you cannot get the help you need. Emma White mentioned this too. You wouldn't sit at home with a broken leg.
Right.
You would go and you would get the help that you need.
Well, and if you had a broken leg, you wouldn't be expected to run a marathon. And yet people expect someone with depression or anxiety or any other diagnosis to be able to just get up, work, and do their thing.
I, again, talk a lot about the partnerships and the relationships that you have with different organizations, nonprofits, and you have so many people that truly believe in the work that you're doing. And we're going to talk to another one of them right now. Roberta, again, is the executive director. She is with the Nevada Psychiatric Association. Hello, Roberta. Good evening. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Hi, Roberta.
Hello, how are you? Hi, Robin.
Roberta, thank you again for being with us this evening. Can you talk to us a little bit about the work that you do at the Nevada Psychiatric Association?
Well, at the Nevada Psychiatric Association, we're a member-based organization. Our organization is made up of about 230 psychiatrists in the state of Nevada. We have leadership in the north, and we have leadership here in the south. We also have lobbyists that work with us very, very hard in the legislature and getting things passed that we definitely need, assistance with as far as mental health. We support NAMI in any way possible that we can, because we really believe that they do great things. They have so many different programs, so many resources that they offer, not just for mental health patients, but for their families, for peers, and so forth. So we really believe strongly in their passion for what they do, and we're totally behind them.
Well, I would also say that we're coming up on a legislative session here, Robin, and you have been saying that this is going to be a big, big year. There's a lot going on. This is basically a question for both of you. How do people in the state of Nevada let people in the legislature know this is something that we want to tackle? We want more funding to support mental illness. What can the average citizen do to help your efforts?
Well, I'll tell you, telling their stories, but now today they just announced that they expect that the legislature will not be having people going into the building for the entire legislative session. So then their voices now muted because you can't go in and testify. So it's really being there to email and text, watch these things online, get in the queue to say, I want this when it's good policy. And one of the things, if you contact us, I'll put you on the advocacy list, and I'll let you know when those meetings are coming up and how to do that. I'll even train you on how to tell your story. I know the Psychiatric Association and we do arm in arm when it comes to advocacy in that building, because we want to get off of 51. We want evidence-based policies that work.
Yeah, our lobbyists are also going to be announcing things via social media to just keep the people informed as to what's going on, different meetings that are going on, so their voice can be heard because of this restriction of not being able to go in and tell their stories in person.
Roberta, someone told me that you also are here tonight with a donation. Is that true?
I am here with a donation. The Nevada Psychiatric Association is happy to announce that we're giving $7,500 to NAMI. And
thank you. That is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Roberta.
Absolutely. I wish you the best in this fund drive. I hope that a lot of people come forward and do what they need to do to keep NAMI surviving and doing what you do.
I would also like to encourage that younger generation that's coming up and trying to figure out where they want to go for schooling. We've heard from you, Roberta. We have heard from Steve Shell with Renown Health about getting people interested in being a part of mental health. What would it be like to be a psychiatrist? What would that mean for our state? We're 51st because we're lacking the resources. That also means we're lacking psychiatrists. We're lacking individuals that want to work in the mental health industry. We as a state need to encourage more people to come here. We need to encourage our universities to push students through these programs. If this is what your passion is, just imagine the difference that you can make by sharing that passion with others.
Right, absolutely. I agree 100%.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. And thank you for your gracious donation. I love this because we're still in the midst of our match. So we can make a lot more money. Again, you can make a donation anytime. Go to givebutter.com/drive-to-thrive-2021. Roberta with the Nevada Psychiatric Association, the executive director. We greatly appreciate you being with us here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Finding the feet flat on the floor, the fingers separated nice and wide, those hands resting on the legs, knees, or table, as the chin again drops towards the chest, gazing down towards the floor. Now we begin to center. Finding our center by engaging the pelvic floor, those muscles we would to stop the flow of urine, and pushing the navel towards the spine. When we do this, we may begin to feel some heat there under the navel, kind of like we're stoking the fire, like we're clicking on the furnace, right? Building and creating some heat in the gut now. And as we do, we begin to sit up a little taller. The shoulders draw back and down. Shoulder blades begin to try to touch behind us. And the sternum begins to stretch and open as though there were a flashlight in the center of our chest, shining a glowing light into our face. As we gaze down and we begin to engage that pelvic floor, now actively pressing navel towards spine, noticing any heat, any movement, any difference in the gut. And as we do, it's as if we slipped on a vacuum, and that vacuum begins to pull, and that heat begins to work to bring the chatter from between our ears into that gut, into that incinerator, churning it up and burning them up, and sweeping those thoughts away with our own breath, leaving our mind clear and cool. Visualization is key to healing. Do this with me now as you engage that pelvic floor. Lift those muscles you would to stop the flow of urine. Push that navel towards the spine. Take a big inhale as we get taller and the shoulders draw back and down. And as we exhale, push navel to spine, seeing that vacuum again, taking any last bits of paper into the gut, churning them up, burning them up, and sweeping them away, so much so that the heart feels lighter and brighter, and a smile is brought to you behind your eyes and nose. And on your next inhale, slowly lift the gaze and the chin, fluttering the eyes open, back into the room.
So I was first introduced to NAMI when I was a teenager, right around my sophomore year. Both my brother and my father went through very, very troubling times. My brother, out of nowhere, attempted suicide. No one saw it coming. There were no warning signs, no red flags. It just happened. He, very fortunately, for all of us, survived. Around that time, my father also attempted suicide. I was kind of the caregiver for the family for almost a year. My brother came back. He joined me as co-captain of the lacrosse team. My dad started coaching the team, and all around a huge success story. I owe a lot of the stability in my family to NAMI during that time. So ever since that moment, I always felt the need to give back to NAMI.
What has been some of the greatest needs that you have seen since the start of this pandemic?
We've identified that a lot of individuals are really missing and craving human connection. A lot of isolation can exacerbate chemical dependencies and substance abuse, unfortunately. It terrifies me that us as a state, Nevada as a state, is the worst in terms of mental health care resources. That's something that I'm incredibly passionate about fighting. I think that we are moving in the right direction. I don't think we're moving in that direction fast enough. Even working at a behavioral health care hospital, we as a leadership team have to stress the importance of self-care. And taking time out for yourself, for your family, just working towards the normalization of any conversation surrounding struggles that people are going through, making an impact ultimately at the policymaker level. A lot of leaders are now identifying the importance of getting behind mental health care for their workforce, for their community, for their organizations. So we're making progress. And I do think that during COVID, I've noticed a lot more community collaboration. So a lot of organizations have come together in the midst of the pandemic. So I'm encouraged about the future and what it's going to bring for the community and access to care for everybody. We always strive as an organization to be considered the authority on mental health and the authority on the navigation of the oftentimes confusing mental health care landscape. A lot of folks are very overwhelmed when they first encounter anything related to mental health care or behavioral health care. Oftentimes it's unfortunately in the moment of a crisis with either themselves or a family member or some loved one. Remaining a stable and reliable resource for individuals going through a crisis is of the utmost importance. So truly, like I said, what NAMI means to me is us maintaining consistency and maintaining the moniker of the authority on mental health.
Fact: Nevada is ranked 51st in the nation for mental health resources. What that means is that Nevada has the most people in need with the fewest resources. How do we change that? Well, I can tell you that there is an army fighting for resources and advocacy, warriors that are fighting for better mental health, including our very own Nevada Senator, Catherine Cortez Masto. She's actually sent us a letter tonight for this event, which I'd like to read to you right now. She says, "Dear friends, thank you for your participation in the 2021 NAMI Nevada Drive to Thrive. I applaud the National Alliance of Mental Illness Nevada for its strong dedication to improving the quality of life for all Nevadans affected by mental illness. NAMI Nevada provides advocacy, education, support, and public awareness to all Nevadans affected by mental illness to build a better life. They also advocate at the county, state, and national level for non-discriminatory access to quality health care, education, housing, and employment for people with a mental illness. As a U.S. Senator, I am working to do my part, as recently I led my colleagues in introducing the Behavioral Health Crisis and Service Expansion Act, a bill that will create continuum of crisis services across the country by setting a national standard of care, and will expand access to behavioral health through broader insurance coverage of mental health services to meet local needs. I also joined my colleagues in introducing the Mental Health Equality Act of 2020, a bill that will address the issues of suicide and mental health in youth with a focus on those in socially and economically disadvantaged communities. We sincerely thank NAMI Nevada for their relentless commitment to increasing access to mental health resources in all of our communities to build a healthier and stronger Nevada. Thank you for participating in the NAMI Nevada Drive to Thrive, and my best wishes for a wonderful event." Thank you so much from our senator. And thank you for continuing to support NAMI Nevada. You can do so by donating now. Remember, we're still a few minutes left to go with our donation. You can double that donation. So go to givebutter.com/drive-to-thrive-2021 to make that donation. Being diagnosed with a mental illness, it is not the end. And for NHL hockey goalie Clint Malarchuk, a mental health diagnosis actually meant understanding that he was far from weak. As a matter of fact, he was stronger than he ever knew. Clint, you suffered one of the most horrific accidents in NHL history, and it happened on March 22nd, 1989. Your jugular vein was severed when St. Louis Blues forward Steve Tuttle was upended while skating and ended up slicing your neck with his skate. And this has been described as one of the most horrific accidents in sports history. It truly is a miracle that you are sitting here with us today.
That night where I cut my jugular vein and almost died, I figured, get back on the horse right away. It's the right thing to do, face your fears. And I came back quick. I had no counseling, none was offered, and I didn't think of it either back then. That's when my struggles with mental illness really came to the forefront. I was on some pain medication for a broken thumb that I was trying to play through. And I took some painkillers and drank because I hadn't slept. And it said, do not drink with alcohol, will make you drowsy. So of course I took a few extra, just to sleep, and drank heavily that night. And yeah, well, my heart stopped. I was rushed to the hospital. And that's where they thought it might have been a suicide attempt. So a psychiatrist was asking me all these questions. And that was the first time I got a diagnosis of OCD, panic disorder, extreme anxiety.
What did you learn in the process of finally accepting that you did have this mental illness? Were you ashamed? Were you now willing to work with that?
It's kind of like feel good or feel crappy. Well, I'm going to feel good, so I'll drink. But the problem is, what a couple beers would do, it took more and more and more. Now you've got two problems. You got your mental illness and you've got your addiction issues. With mental illness, I think people got to understand that it is a sickness. It's not a weakness.
Seeing him completely acting in a different way and not knowing that it was excessive compulsive, not knowing about anxiety, not knowing it was depression, and not even knowing and seeing that he was actually self-medicating. I mean, knowing that he had a few drinks here and there, but I didn't know how many he was having. I didn't know how alcohol would affect that. I didn't know what mental illness looked like. You can read about it in a book, but until you see it firsthand and see what it looks like, you really have no idea.
Unfortunately, Clint, you had another near-death experience. You attempted suicide yet again.
It was a very random suicide attempt. I didn't leave a note. Yes, I had suicidal thoughts, but I didn't really think I'd act on it. So it was very impulsive. And I didn't even know if the gun still had any bullets in it. And I put it under my chin and shot. And I didn't lose consciousness. The bullet got lodged in my skull. And, that was the beginning of a new healing phase for me. That really got me thinking that I was spared. God spared me for those that are still suffering, suffering in silence, in darkness. And that's all because of the stigma, the shame that goes still today with mental illness. And I wrote a book about my life, and I was getting all this feedback from people. I mean, a lot of feedback, all these emails every day and messages on Facebook and that. And I went, wow, there's a lot of Clint Malarchuks out there, It made me realize that I am not alone. And I think people really need to understand that it's a sickness, not a weakness, and that you are not alone. And there's a lot of people that can relate and a lot of people that can help. Really, by supporting NAMI, you're saving lives.
And not only the life of somebody who might be struggling, but the life of a family member, a daughter or son of somebody who's struggling. And even though they may not be that bad in it, you're probably saving their family. You're saving their marriage, their relationship, and just improving their life. I mean, some people struggle with just, a little bit of it here and there, and normal everyday stresses. And with COVID, it's gotten worse. I mean, you're helping people just improve their life immensely.
We're back here with Grant Denton. He is the founder of the Karma Box Project. And Grant, you and I were just sitting here kind of talking about Clint's video. And I think one of the things that really, really captured my heart is that he can stand and say, I have a mental illness. And it is a fight every day, but that he embraces that he has this and he knows that he needs to work.
So I noticed three things in this video, and that's one of them. That's the stigma reduction that'll happen with Clint telling a story and opening up and being okay with it. A lot of times we try to present well. We're taught to present well and not show our weaknesses. But Clint being vulnerable like this shows us that it is okay, and that's a stigma reduction. And it also teaches us about our own hidden biases. Sometimes we have our own hidden biases that we're not aware of when it comes to mental illness. Another thing that I pointed out, the second thing that we notice is that it's an ongoing struggle. It's not something that you just fix and it gets over with and you're done with this mental illness. It's an ongoing struggle. We constantly are battling this mental illness. It ebbs and it flows and it's constantly undulating. And but another thing that it does too, that I think that's really beautiful about this story is that it proves like what he went through, what he survived. It proves that if your heart is still breathing and if your lungs are still pulling air, something loves you enough to keep you here, and you have a purpose. All of us have a purpose here. And Clint has a purpose. All of us do. And once we understand that it's something as simple as our hearts beating and our lungs pulling air, then we understand the value we carry and what's the value of addressing mental illness in our community.
He really, I mean, he had this amazing career beforehand. Yeah. He has this crazy accident that nearly, I mean, what I do know from this accident is had the paramedics been on the other side of the rink, he would have died. It would have been that quick. And he was back on that rink in 10 days. And it wasn't until a year later that he really started to have the PTSD from this accident. And he said exactly what you did, was that he just was taught to, you hide things, you push it down, you don't deal with it. Yeah. And now your mind is saying you need to deal with this. And to know that he was finally able, when he really realized that it was okay to say, I have an illness. And guess what? It's no different than someone who has heart disease. I have an illness and I need to take care of that illness. And he has, his wife is just, Joni was, my heart just goes out to her. It's such love. And I think one of the best parts of that video is when she's talking about who you're supporting. And he says, you're going to help someone's marriage. She has been standing by his side through all of this. Yeah. That is true love. And that is why they continue to share their stories. They never want anyone to be forgotten. And Grant, in your video too, you say, going back to the baby scenario, that we have a tendency to look at those who may be on the streets or maybe are dealing with a mental illness, and we stay away from them instead of really looking at them and seeing, why are they this way? What put them here? And what can I do to help them and be better for them?
Yeah. And sometimes we feel limited as to what we can do. Like, how can I help the mental illness thing? And that's where NAMI comes in, is knowing that like there is someone out there that can help. And you have to look at what is in your sphere of influence, right? And what's in your sphere of influence, what's in your dichotomy of control is being able to donate to NAMI to help the professionals do what the professionals do good. And that's how we can help.
Yeah. And thank you all for making a donation. We are finishing up our match donation of $2,000, but we do encourage you to continue the giving tonight. GiveButter.com/Drive2Thrive 2021. Grant, thank you so much. You're such an amazing inspiration in our community. Just like Clint, you continue to share your story and you continue to inspire. And I love you every day. You're my brother, man. I just adore you. Thank you so much for all that you do for this community.
Thank you, Connie.
Now with your feet, again, firm against the floor and your sit bones firm against your chair, please take an inhale as you raise your non-dominant hand, separating your fingers as wide as you possibly can, turning towards the palm of your hand, gazing at it. Now, picking up your dominant hand and extending your index finger, your pointer finger. Take another big inhale as you place that index finger at the base of wrist and thumb. Exhale here, pushing out all the breath till navel tries to touch the spine. Watch now, following that index finger as we inhale, tracing the outside of the thumb. Exhale, inside of the thumb. Inhale, tracing outside of index finger. Exhale, tracing inside index finger. Inhale all the way up, inside middle finger. Exhale, coming back down to the base of the ring finger. Inhale, watching your finger, tracing the inside of the ring finger. Exhale, coming back down to the base of the pinky. Inhale, tracing the inside of that pinky. Exhale, long exhale, coming all the way down, breathing, pushing navel to spine as you trace all the way down to the wrist. Take another big inhale here. As we exhale, float those hands again, palms down to the legs or table, gazing down, pushing navel all the way to spine. And on your inhale, lifting the gaze, fluttering the eyes open.
Holy shit.
Thank you so much, Joyce. You are amazing. It's okay, Grant. We love you anyway. Robin Reedy, the executive director of NAMI Nevada. Tonight has just really been an inspiration for me. And I want to say again to you and to everyone that works and supports NAMI, thank you for everything that you're doing for our community. And I know that this is a stressful time for nonprofits, but you are needed now more than ever. You truly are. We are a community that is in the midst of a crisis. And for many individuals that are now calling your warm line looking for help, they are maybe have never experienced what they're going through right now. And having the resources, having the programs, being able to have someone that answers those calls, that's what these donations are going to go towards. So Robin, I just cannot thank you enough for all of the work that you do in this community.
Well, thank you. And thank you to the volunteers that we have. And know that things like that $7,500 pays for 250 hours of that warm line. You know, that's really what this money turns into. It turns into us being able to have facilitators for support groups, having the education books for the education classes. It's incredibly important. And by the way, we did have a volunteer they're going to do a fundraiser. They're actually putting on an event in Las Vegas. It's the Circus Pro Group, and they're doing an event online tomorrow night. So check our Facebook to get the link. And all the proceeds from that event are going to be coming to NAMI.
Well, we should also let you know that you're going to leave this Give Butter open through February 17th, correct? That's what we're going through. 16th. So we have plenty of time for individuals to continue to donate. And I want to mention again, we talked earlier about the legislature. I know it's going to look a little different this year because we're not going to be able to go in person. But I want to remind people that they work for us. And the more that we can contact them, whether you're emailing them directly, whether you're contacting Robin and Robin can help you make those connections, this is so important right now. We need to no longer be 51st in the nation.
And you know, they're out of money again because of the economy. But the fact is we need to increase what's being spent for mental health to get us off 51. We need to be talking about the housing situation, because if you don't have a roof over your head, you're not going to be taking care of yourself mentally. We need to be talking about parity to make sure the insurance companies prove that they're treating mental health issues the same way they're treating other issues in the body. You know, it's incredibly important that everyone feel like they can go get help. And when they go get help and they get a medication, perhaps, they can't be turned away at the pharmacy because of a pre-authorization or fail first policy. All of those policies need to be changed as well. And then, you know, we're always asking them to give more money and do more programs for mental health, but we need to decriminalize mental health issues. I mean, we are working in our Northern Nevada group with the detention facility and the court system to keep people stable while they're through. Our Western Nevada group has trained inmates at the correctional facility to do support groups. And we want to expand those to the Southern Nevada. So we're doing a lot of good. We're pushing these ideas and trying to make changes on policies, but we need the people behind us saying, go, yes, we agree with that. And that's where the individual voices come in.
Well, again, we want to say thank you to each and every one of you who have made a contribution to NAMI Nevada. I saw over there that you were looking at totals. Did you want to give us a little idea of where we are as we wrap things up this evening?
Sure.
Just give us a little teaser. I know we're going to leave this open, like she said, through February 16th. $43,688 is what you have raised for NAMI Nevada. Thank you to each and every one of you. And I want to mention here, we've had so many great comments this evening. Janet says here, incredible stories of hope. All I hear tonight is hope. Diana says, thank you, NAMI, for your reach in our community. I'm an author who wrote about my personal experience in growing up with the schizoaffective parent. What you're doing is so important. And you speaking out and talking about your experience of what you went through with your parent, what you have experienced, Robin, what my family has experienced losing our daughter. This is what we will continue to do. We will scream it from the mountaintops because we know that we need funds and we know that we need to support individuals. And I would say this once again, end the discrimination. It's not stigma. It is discrimination. And we need to stop discriminating against those who are living with a mental illness. We thank you all for being with us tonight. Thank you, Robin, for everything. I just adore you. And to Grant Denton.
It's mutual.
Yeah, to Grant. Grant, come over here. Say goodbye really quick. Show off your sexy pants. He has beautiful pants.
Go ahead.
On. There is. Look at those sexy pants. We love you. Thank you so much. The partnerships that you bring, you all, both of you, and whether it's the Karma Box or NAMI Nevada, you're bringing agencies together. You're working really hard to make changes in our community. So I thank you all. Thank you to Emma White for sharing her story, to Clint, to everyone that was a part of this. We thank you so very much for supporting NAMI Nevada. We're going to leave you with more great yoga from Joyce. Thank you. And remember, you can continue to donate, givebutter.com/drive-to-thrive-2021. Thank you for being a part of NAMI Nevada's Drive to Thrive.
With your feet planted firmly on the ground, your sit bones solid on that chair, navel pushing to spine nice and long, shoulder blades drawing together behind you. Inhale, look up and reach up. As you exhale, drop those shoulder blades back and down as though you were trying to hold a piece of paper between them. Plant your palms together and fold down all your fingers except those two index fingers like two hands at 12 o'clock. Bending or straightening your arms as much as your body and emotions agree to. Inhale, looking up and reaching up. Again, staying away from anything that feels like pain, always backing up to you and your body's preference. As we take an exhale now, tick 2 numbers to the clock. Inhale as right arm pulls left hand over to the side, maybe feeling some expansion on that left side and flexion on the right side as we inhale, reaching over to the side wall. As we exhale, ticking down to the next number on that clock. Inhale draws us further over, but keeping our sit bones solid against the chair and feet strong against the earth. Inhale, reaching over. Exhale, drawing down to the next number. One more time, let your breath pull you as you inhale, draw over to the side wall. As you exhale, down to the next number. Inhale, both hands reach up, shine up, and we are pulled up. And as we exhale, ticking 2 numbers to the other side now. Inhale as left hand pulls right hand over. Exhale as left hand draws right hand down. Inhale, feeling it pull is drawing, expanding on the right now, flexing on the left. Inhale, reaching over. Exhale, drawing down. Inhale, pulling to the side. Exhale, drawing down to the next number. Let the breath guide you, gazing towards the hands or towards the earth, whatever you and your body decide feels best. Inhale, reaching over. Exhale, drawing down. Inhale, both hands reach up, shine up. We are pulled up very, very high. Exhale as we flip the palms out. Let eyes and fingers float down. Taking a moment to notice any heat in the shoulders. Perhaps breathing into that heat, drawing a warm breath into the shoulders, breaking up old information and stories that may have been placed there. And as you exhale, sweeping that ash of the stories away, cleansing our way through the day. Inhale again, pull that heat into the stories and papers, turning them into cinder, then ash. Exhale as we sweep them away. Inhale now as we lift the gaze, fluttering the eyes open. Now again, with your feet firm against the earth and those sit bones digging into the chair, pushing the navel towards the spine, taking any sway out of the low back. Inhale, look up and reach up. And as you exhale, bend the elbows, placing your hands about shoulder distance apart and just at eye level or slightly above. Pausing here to notice your shoulder blades reaching for each other behind you. Raising the eyebrows, opening the eyes as wide as you can, letting in more light. More light means more serotonin, more endorphins. Happy hormones, and who couldn't use those? Between your hands now, we're going to visualize. Visualization is key to healing. Right, so let's take a moment and between our hands, notice a beautiful balloon or sky lantern. It is the most beautiful balloon or sky lantern you've ever seen. It's humming, it's resonating, and it's glowing in a color only you are familiar with, the color of your hopes and wishes and dreams. It's clean and it's crisp, and you know for some reason that it's here to help. And now I want you to imagine that I've just handed you a big old greasy marker. And you can take this marker and write all over this balloon or sky lantern what it is that you want it to take away. What it is that steals your laughter, that stifles your joy, that wipes away your smile, that calls your tears. What it is, who it is. It could be a person, a name, a date, a place. It could be an emotion you're not quite sure what to call, but you could give it a symbol or a color, and you know that it's time for it to go. If it doesn't serve me, I'm letting go of it. If it happened yesterday, or it might happen tomorrow, it's not even mine. And maybe it's one big old block word, and maybe it's a million of them. And once you see that, nice and clear, I want you to inhale and lift the balloon up high as you possibly can, or the sky lantern, and see it between your hands. And hear your constitution, your resilience, your grit, whatever it is you call that little voice inside of you that helps you through it all, speaking to you now, saying, let's do it. It is time. Inhale, lift it higher. Exhale, release. Let your arms flow out and down. Watch that balloon or sky lantern take off with a high-speed wobble. Imagine a light just turned on in the center of your chest like a flashlight, and you're following that balloon up, up and away, punching holes through the ceiling, then through clouds as it makes its way through the sunlight, through the darkness, into the stardust and the blanket of stars. And as it's so tiny, your light can barely find it, and then poof, it disintegrates into stardust, rejuvenated, recycled, upcycled into something more beautiful and helpful. And now you hear that voice that was speaking to you and saying, let's let it go. And you're speaking to it, saying, thank you. Thank you. I am set free. I am grateful. I have let go. Inhale, look up, reach up. Place the palms together. Exhale as you pull nothing but happiness back to the center of your chest. Allow your hands to float down towards your legs. Release any emotion from the face. Brow unfurrows, jaw falls slack. Feeling soft, grateful, and gentle as we inhale now. Lift the chin, flutter the eyes open, back into the room. With your feet flat against the floor and your fingers separated nice and wide, let your hands rest on your legs, the table, or knees. Let your chin drop towards the chest, gazing down at the floor. Begin to orient yourself now, finding yourself safe in your space. Noticing 4 textures or 4 colors in your field of vision. The floor, your clothes, your skin, the furniture. Feeling the center of your body now, engaging the pelvic floor, pressing navel to spine, igniting the furnace of the gut, pulling the focus of the mind and the chatter between our ears down into that incinerator to be burned up and swept away. Shoulders begin to drop down and away from the ears as shoulder blades reach for each other, and the sternum feels a stretch, and the warmth of the heart glows up towards the face as the chin drops, and the brow unfurrows, the lips barely touching. We begin to find our breath. Breath is the final resource. Breath is presence. When we find ourselves lost in tomorrow or yesterday, many times we can find ourselves back to now by asking ourselves one simple question. Am I inhaling or exhaling right now? Let's do this now with our lips barely touching, We begin to ask that question and then answer it with our breath. And as we inhale through the nose, we hear the words, I am inhaling. And as we exhale, pushing navel all the way to spine, we hear the words, I am exhaling. One more time. Give yourself 1 or 2 more rounds of breath, in and out through the nose. When we breathe softly and naturally in and out through the nose, we send a signal to mind and body. All is well. No reason to pant or panic. I am safe. I am peaceful. I am present. On the next inhale, please begin to lift your gaze. Chin rises as eyes flutter open.